The vast crystalline dome of the Galactic Council's grand chamber glitters with the light of 1,000 stars. Inside, Ambassador Alara Reed stands alone at the center of the circular platform, facing the towering semicircle of alien representatives. Hundreds of species, each more ancient and advanced than humanity, look down upon her with expressions ranging from curiosity to outright hostility. High Counselor Vexnar, a being of shifting blue energy contained within an ornate exoskeleton, leans forward. Ambassador Reed, you stand before this council accused of violating Interstellar Treaty 437b, unauthorized military mobilization beyond your designated sector. The evidence is irrefutable. Your species has assembled the largest combat fleet seen in this quadrant in 3 millennia. The chamber erupts in murmurs. On the massive holographic display behind Alara, images of Earth's assembled armada appear. Thousands of ships, bristling with weapon systems the Council has never seen before. Alara's voice remains steady. Hi, Counselor, Honorable Representatives, I do not deny the presence of our fleet, but I categorically reject the characterization of our actions as aggressive. Explain yourself, demands Counselor Therok, a reptilian delegate whose species has dominated this sector for millennia. 3 standard months ago, we received a desperate transmission from the Navirian system. A distress signal unlike any we've encountered. Alara activates her own holodisplay showing a fractured, static-filled message. The alien voice speaks in broken universal standard. Help us. They're consuming everything. Conventional weapons useless. They adapt, please. Anyone. The council chamber falls silent. The Navirians are under Galactic Council protection, Alara continues. When we informed your emergency response coordinators, we were told the situation had been noted and would be addressed when resources became available. But the Navirians don't have time for bureaucratic delays, so yes, we assembled our fleet. Not to threaten, but to save lives. Vexnar's energy form pulses with agitation. Your species has been spacefaring for barely 2 centuries. The Council has maintained peace for 50,000 years. What could humans possibly bring to this situation that our more advanced civilizations cannot? Alara's eyes narrow. Something you've forgotten, High Counselor. Humanity evolved as prey animals on a death world. We understand desperation. We know what it means to fight against overwhelming odds. She gestures and the hologram shifts to show Earth's flagship, the UNSC Prometheus. Our vessels aren't just warships. They're rescue vessels, designed to evacuate civilians from disaster zones. Our weapons aren't just destroyers, they're adaptive systems built to counter evolving threats. And our soldiers? The image zooms in on the crew, diverse humans preparing with grim determination. They don't fight for glory or territory. They fight because someone asked for help and they will not stand by while innocents suffer. The chamber erupts in shouted objections, but Alara raises her voice over the din. The Navirian crisis isn't just their problem. Whatever is consuming their worlds won't stop there. This threat will spread, and when it reaches your territories, High Counselor, you'll wish you hadn't dismissed humanity's offer of assistance. As if on cue, the chamber's emergency alert system activates. A holographic projection of the Navirian system appears showing 3 planets now completely blackened, with a spreading darkness consuming the 4th. The Navirians are dying while we debate, Alara says quietly. Humanity's fleet will reach their system in 26 hours. You can condemn us now if you wish, but we will not turn back. Vexnar's energy form fluctuates. You would defy a direct order from this council? Alara stands tall. We would. Because sometimes, High Counselor, the most dangerous thing in the universe isn't a fleet of warships. It's the conviction that drives them. The chamber falls silent as the implications sink in. Humanity, the newcomers, the primitives, have just shown that they are willing to risk everything to save a species they've never even met. And that makes them the most unpredictable force the Galactic Council has ever encountered. 6 hours later, Alara paces the small diplomatic suite assigned to Earth's delegation. The walls, though appearing solid, are transparent from the outside, a subtle reminder that on the Galactic Council's central station, privacy is an illusion. A soft chime announces the arrival of Thomas Beck, Earth's military attaché. His weathered face is grim. Admiral Donovan reports the fleet is maintaining position at the edge of the Navirian system. The Council's security forces have established a blockade, but they haven't opened fire. Ilara nods. They won't. Not yet. They're still hoping we'll back down. Will we? Beck asks. The question hangs in the air. Ilara moves to the window, looking out at the spectacular view of the galactic arm stretching across the starfield. 200 years ago, humanity looked up at the stars and dreamed of what might be out there. We hoped for wisdom, for advancement, for allies who would help us overcome our self-destructive tendencies. She turns back to Beck. Instead, we found the Council, a collection of ancient species so comfortable in their power that they've forgotten what it means to truly protect life. The President has authorized Operation Lifeline, Beck says quietly. If you give the word, we go in regardless of Council permission. Ilara's gaze is steady. The consequences will be severe, Beck finishes. Trade sanctions at minimum. Possibly expulsion from Council space. In the worst case, military response. Against Earth? Beck shakes his head. They wouldn't risk attacking our homeworld. But our colonies, our outposts, those would be vulnerable. Ilara's hand clenches into a fist. All to save a species most humans have never even heard of. That's who we are, Beck says simply. That's who we've always been. We fight for the underdog. We stand up to bullies, even when those bullies are 10,000 years more advanced than us. A new chime sounds, an urgent council summons. Ilara straightens her uniform. Let's hope it doesn't come to that. Inform Admiral Donovan. Hold position, but prepare for emergency jump to Navirian Prime. If I don't check in within 3 hours, execute Operation Lifeline. The Grand Chamber is different now. Instead of hundreds of representatives, only the High Council, 12 beings representing the oldest and most powerful species in the galaxy, is present. The atmosphere is tense, expectant. Vexnar speaks first. Ambassador Reed, the Council has deliberated on the Navirian situation. We have reviewed your evidence and reassessed our response. Ilara keeps her expression neutral, though her pulse quickens. The Council acknowledges that the threat in the Navirian system may be more severe than initially classified. We have decided to authorize an emergency response. Vexnar's energy form pulses with what might be reluctance. However, given the unknown nature of the threat, the Council believes a combined approach is warranted. Councillor Tharok slides forward. In plain terms, Ambassador, we're offering a compromise. Your fleet may proceed to Navirian space, but under Council oversight. A contingent of our forces will join yours. Command will be shared. Ilara considers this. It's more than she expected, but still far from ideal. And the chain of command? A joint leadership council, Vexnar says. 3 council representatives, 3 humans. Major decisions require majority approval. Time is critical, Ilara points out. We can't afford committee debates in the middle of a crisis. Which is why operational command will fall to whoever has the most relevant experience with the threat, Tharok adds. Once engaged, battlefield decisions rest with the most qualified commander, council or human. Ilara allows herself a small smile. The Council doesn't know that Earth has been secretly studying the Navirian transmissions for weeks. Their scientists have developed theoretical countermeasures. Their military has run countless simulations. When the joint force encounters the threat, there will be no question who has the most relevant experience. The Earth delegation accepts these terms, she says, bowing slightly. Our fleet stands ready to coordinate with Council forces immediately. As she turns to leave, Councillor Maris, a being of crystalline thought rarely moved to speak, addresses her directly. Ambassador Reed, the Council has existed for 50 millennia. In that time we have seen countless species rise and fall, some through natural disaster, others through war or environmental collapse. A few, a very few, through their own stubborn refusal to recognize the limitations of their place in the cosmos. Ilara meets the counselor's gaze, or where she thinks it might be in the shifting crystal structure. Humanity is young, Ambassador. Impetuous. Dangerously optimistic about your capabilities. It would be. Regrettable. If your species' first major interaction with the wider galaxy became also its last. The threat is clear, but Ilara doesn't flinch. Thank you for your concern, Counselor. But if there's one thing humans understand well, it's survival against the odds. She smiles. After all, we evolved on a death world, surrounded by predators faster, stronger, and more numerous than ourselves. Yet here we stand. As she walks away, the weight of 20,000 years of galactic politics pressing on her shoulders, Ilara sends a single encrypted message to Admiral Donovan. Operation Lifeline is go. Council forces will join us. Maintain Protocol Alpha. Share only what is necessary. The Navirians called for help and humanity will answer, no matter the cost. The UNSC Prometheus drops out of hyperspace at the edge of the Navirian system, followed by the vanguard of Earth's fleet. On the bridge, Admiral Marcus Donovan stares at the tactical display with growing horror. 2 of the system's 5 planets are completely black, not destroyed, but transformed into something unrecognizable. The 3rd planet, once a thriving agricultural world, is being visibly consumed by a shifting mass of darkness that spreads across its surface like spilled ink. Life signs? Donovan asks. Scattered and fading on the 4th planet, Admiral, reports Lieutenant Kai Rivera, the ship's sensor officer. The 5th planet shows heavy refugee concentration in the northern hemisphere. Estimate 2 billion Navirians crowded into the last major city. Donovan nods grimly. And the hostiles? Unknown, sir. They don't register as biological or mechanical. They're something else. The science officer, Dr. Nadia Okafor, looks up from her station. Admiral, I believe we're dealing with a form of sentient dark matter. It exists partially outside our normal space-time. That's why the Galactic Council's conventional weapons were ineffective. They weren't hitting the entity's true form. Can we hit them? Donovan asks. Dr. Okafor smiles. That's the thing about humans, Admiral. We've been theorizing about dark matter since the 20th century. Our quantum displacement weapons were specifically designed to affect matter in multiple dimensional states. Then let's test the theory. Donovan opens a fleet-wide channel. All vessels, this is Admiral Donovan. Deploy to defensive formation Epsilon around the 5th planet. Rescue teams prepare for mass evacuation. Combat units target the leading edge of the incursion on Planet 4. Let's see if these things can bleed. As the human fleet moves into position, a transmission comes through from the surface of the 5th planet. The screen shows a Navirian, a tall, willowy being with iridescent skin and 4 arms, surrounded by thousands of frightened refugees. This is Prime Minister Alos of Navir. Are you the humans? The Galactic Council said no help was coming. We're not the Council, Donovan replies simply. We're humanity, and we received your call for help. Tears streamed down Alos's face. They took everything. Our colonies, our history, our people. They consume not just our bodies, but our very essence. We call them the Devourers. Prime Minister, we're sending shuttles to begin evacuation immediately, but I need to know everything you can tell us about these Devourers. How do they attack? Do they communicate? Have you found any weaknesses? As Elos explains, the tactical display suddenly flares with warnings. The darkness consuming the 4th planet has noticed the human fleet. Tendrils of shadow stretch upward, coalescing into massive shapes that rise from the planet's surface into space. All vessels. Battle stations, Donovan orders. Weapons free. The human fleet opens fire with weapons that shouldn't exist according to Galactic Council records. Beams of brilliant energy that shift between states of matter. Missiles that create localized rifts in space-time. Defensive shields that operate on quantum uncertainty principles. For the first time since they entered this galaxy, the Devourers encounter resistance they cannot simply absorb. When struck by human weapons, portions of their amorphous forms actually disintegrate. But the advantage is temporary. The Devourers adapt, shifting their composition to become more resistant. 3 human ships are enveloped in darkness and go silent. They're learning, Dr. Okafor warns. Each attack teaches them how to counter our technology. Donovan's eyes narrow. Then we'll have to learn faster. All ships, cycle through weapon configurations Alpha through Delta. Don't establish a pattern. And get those civilians off that planet. As the battle rages, evacuation shuttles streak toward the fifth planet's surface. The human fleet forms a protective barrier, buying time with their lives while the Navirians escape. On the command deck of the Council observation vessel Eternal Vigilance, 3 Council representatives watch the battle unfold with growing disbelief. "Impossible," mutters Delegate Jorax, his crystalline form flickering with agitation. "The humans are actually hurting the Devourers. How?" Fleet Commander Azura, a being of living metal, studies the tactical displays. Their weapons technology. It violates at least 7 Council prohibitions. They've been developing forbidden tech in secret. The third observer, Science Director Lyrith, waves a tentacle dismissively. More concerning is how quickly they identified the Devourer's weakness, almost as if they knew what they would be facing. Azura turns her gleaming face toward Lyrith. "You believe they had prior knowledge? That this distress call was perhaps arranged?" "I suggest nothing. I merely observe." Lyrith's eyes blink in sequence along her central stalk. The Council has underestimated these humans from the beginning, perhaps deliberately. On the Prometheus, Admiral Donovan receives a priority alert from communications. "Sir, the Council representatives are requesting permission to board. They want to coordinate strategy." Donovan exchanges a glance with Dr. Okafor. "Timing's convenient. Now that we've proven our weapons work, they want a closer look." "What are your orders, sir?" Donovan straightens his uniform. "Grant permission, but initiate security protocol Omega-3. Restricted areas remain locked down, weapons schematics classified. They get operational information only." As evacuation shuttles continue their desperate mission to the surface, the Devourers intensify their assault. A massive tendril of darkness lashes out, wrapping around a human destroyer. Instead of being consumed instantly, the ship's shields flare with shifting patterns of energy, temporarily holding the darkness at bay. "Cronus is hit," Lieutenant Rivera reports. "Shields at 40% and falling. Divert power from the Artemis and the Hermes," Donovan orders. "Create a synchronized shield resonance." As the 3 ships' defensive systems link up, their shields begin to pulse in a complex pattern. The Devourer tendril wrapped around the Cronus recoils as if in pain. "It worked," Dr. Okafor exclaims. The synchronized resonance disrupts their dimensional coherence. Before they can celebrate, the deck shudders as something massive impacts the Prometheus. "We've been hit," Rivera reports. "Portside, decks 12 through 17. Something's boarding us." Donovan activates internal security. "All combat teams prepare for intruders, Dr. Okafor. I need options." "The Devourers have never shown this behavior before," she says, quickly reviewing sensor data. "They're adapting faster than anticipated." A security feed shows corridors on the lower decks filling with swirling darkness. Marine teams open fire, their specialized weapons pushing the darkness back, but only temporarily. They're searching for something, Dr. Okafor realizes. This isn't random, they're heading for specific systems. "The weapon designs," Donovan says grimly. "They want to understand how we're hurting them." At that moment, the door to the bridge slides open. The 3 Council representatives enter, escorted by security. "Admiral Donovan," Fleet Commander Azura says, her metallic body reflecting the emergency lights. "The Council delegation requests immediate integration into your command structure as per our agreement." Donovan nods curtly. "Welcome aboard, Commander. As you can see, we're a bit busy staying alive. Your tactical input would be welcome." Science Director Lyrith moves to Dr. Okafor's station, multiple eyes taking in the sensor readings. "Fascinating. You've managed to affect their quantum structure. May I ask how?" Before Dr. Okafor can answer, alarms blare throughout the ship. "Breach on deck 16, Rivera shouts. "They've reached the auxiliary computer core." Donovan turns to the Council representatives. "If you want to help, now's the time. We need to drive these things off our ship before they access our weapons data." "Why would we help protect technology that violates Council law?" Delegate Jorax asks, his crystalline form pulsing with suspicion. Donovan steps close to the delegate, his voice low and intense. "Because right now that illegal technology is the only thing standing between the Devourers and the rest of the galaxy, including your homeworlds." A tense silence falls over the bridge. Finally, Fleet Commander Azura nods. "The Council will provide assistance. But understand, Admiral, when this crisis is resolved, there will be consequences for Earth's technological violations. If we survive, Commander, I'll happily face those consequences. Donovan turns back to tactical. Now let's take back my ship. As human Marines and Council security forces combine efforts to repel the boarding devourers, Dr. Okafor makes a startling discovery. Admiral, I'm detecting unusual energy readings from the devourers inside our ship. They're not just searching for data, they're communicating with the main mass. Communicating what? I believe... Dr. Okafor pauses, her eyes widening. They're afraid, sir. Our weapons hurt them in a way nothing has before. They're trying to understand us before we can understand them. Donovan studies the tactical display, watching as the evacuation shuttles continue their desperate mission. Nearly 1 million Navirians have been rescued so far, but billions remain. Lieutenant Rivera, status of the Navirian evacuation? At current rates, we can save perhaps 10% of their population before the devourers overwhelm the planet. Donovan's face hardens. Not acceptable. Dr. Okafor, if the devourers are afraid of us, let's use that. Can we? The emergency session of the Galactic Council has been ongoing for hours when the communication arrives from the Navirian system. The holographic feed shows Admiral Donovan, his uniform torn and bloodied. Bridge officers working frantically in the background. Galactic Council. This is Admiral Donovan of Earth. We've evacuated approximately 1.7 billion Navirian civilians. We've lost 43 ships and nearly 12,000 personnel. But we've managed to slow the Devourer's advance. Our weapons are effective, but we need reinforcements. High Counselor Vexnar's energy form pulses with concern, but it's Counselor Tharok who speaks first. Admiral, the Council acknowledges your intervention. However, our analysis suggests the wisest course of action is containment, not engagement. Donovan's expression hardens. Containment? You mean abandoning the system? We mean quarantining it, Counselor Zalara, a crystalline being, interjects. Our scientists believe these devourers cannot be destroyed by conventional means. The Council has voted to establish a spatial barrier around the Navirian system, sealing it off from the rest of the galaxy. Ambassador Alara Reed steps forward. And what about our fleet? The Navirian survivors? An uncomfortable silence falls over the council chamber. You're going to seal them in with the devourers, Alara realizes, horror dawning on her face. You're sacrificing them and us to buy yourselves time. It is regrettable, Vexnar admits. But the needs of the many— Don't you dare! Alara interrupts. Don't use philosophy to justify abandoning billions to die. Tharok rises to his full height. The decision is made, Ambassador. The barrier will be established in 6 hours. I suggest your Admiral use that time to retreat with as many ships as possible. The Navirians, unfortunately, are already lost. The transmission to Donovan is deliberately cut. Ilara stands alone in the council chamber, surrounded by representatives of the oldest, most advanced civilizations in the galaxy, all of whom have just chosen fear over courage. This is why we assembled our fleet, she says quietly, because deep down we knew this might happen. The mighty Galactic Council, so concerned with maintaining the status quo that they'd sacrifice an entire species rather than face something unknown. She taps her communicator. Captain Wells, this is Ambassador Reed. Implement Protocol Omega immediately. Back in the Navirian system, Admiral Donovan receives Alara's encrypted message. His face grim, he turns to his communications officer. Send the signal. All ships not actively engaged in evacuation or combat. Execute jump protocols. Across the system, nearly 200 human vessels suddenly break formation. In perfect synchronization, they engage their hyperdrives not to flee the system, but to jump to precise coordinates around its perimeter. On the bridge of the Prometheus, Dr. Okafor works frantically alongside Science Director Lyrith. The Devourer incursion has been temporarily contained, but damage to the ship is extensive. The Council is abandoning us, Donovan tells the alien representatives. They're establishing a spatial barrier to quarantine the entire system, with us inside it. Fleet Commander Azura's metallic features remain impassive. A difficult but logical decision. The Devourers cannot be allowed to spread. And the billions of lives trapped inside? The Navirians, my crew? Donovan demands. Are they just acceptable losses? In a conflict of this scale, yes, Delegate Jorak says coldly. The stability of the galaxy outweighs. He's interrupted by Dr. Okafor. Admiral, the fleet has reached their positions. All ships report ready for synchronization. What is this? Lyrith asks, multiple eyes focusing intently on the tactical display, where human ships have arranged themselves in a perfect sphere around the system's edge. Donovan smiles tightly. Insurance policy. We suspected the Council might try something like this. Those ships are carrying specially designed quantum resonators. Individually, they're harmless. Together, they can disrupt the Council's barrier technology. Dr. Okafor finishes, preventing you from trapping us here to die. Azura moves with surprising speed, her metallic form flowing toward the nearest weapons console. This is treason against the Council guards. Before the Council security forces can react, human Marines have them disarmed and contained. This isn't treason, Donovan says calmly. This is survival. We came to save the Navirians, and that's exactly what we're going to do. He turns to Dr. Okafor. Status of the evacuation? 2 billion Navirians safely away, another billion in transit. We'll need at least 4 more hours to evacuate the remaining population. And the Devourers? They're regrouping. The last attack weakened them, but they're adapting. I estimate we have 3 hours before they launch another major offensive. Donovan nods. Then we need to buy time. He addresses the Council representatives directly. You have 2 choices. Help us complete this evacuation, or sit in the brig until it's done. Either way, humanity will not abandon these people. After a tense moment, Lyrith steps forward. The Council voted without full information. They don't understand what we've seen here, what your weapons can do. I will assist. Azura remains rigid. You betray the Council's directive, Director Lyrith. I serve life, Commander. Sometimes that means making difficult choices. The alien scientist turns to Dr. Okafor. Your quantum displacement technology, I believe it could be, amplified using Council barrier technology. Principles. Dr. Okafor's eyes widen. A reverse-engineered barrier? Not to contain the system, but to contain the Devourers? Precisely. Not permanent, but perhaps long enough to complete your evacuation. Delegate Jorax vibrates with outrage. This is sharing restricted technology with an unclassified species. The penalties are less important than the lives at stake, Lyrith interrupts. I made an oath when I joined the Council Science Directorate to preserve knowledge and life throughout the galaxy. I will not abandon that oath now. As the scientists work, Donovan receives a communication from Ambassador Reed. The holographic projection shows her standing in what appears to be a Council security center. Admiral, situation update. I've secured access to the barrier control systems. The Council's security was less robust than expected. She smiles grimly. We can delay the barrier activation by approximately 3 hours, but no longer without risking detection. Understood, Ambassador. We've made an unlikely ally. The Council's science director is helping us modify our weapons. Reed's expression shows surprise. Interesting. The Council isn't as unified as they'd like us to believe. Admiral, there's something else you should know. I've accessed some classified Council archives. The Devourers, they've been encountered before. What? When? Approximately 8,000 years ago in the Veraxis cluster. The records are heavily redacted, but it appears the Council knew exactly what the Navirians were facing. They chose containment then, too. Donovan's jaw tightens. An entire civilization sacrificed to preserve the Council's peace. Not just one. I've found references to at least 3 other encounters over the millennia. Each time the Council quarantined the affected systems and erased them from galactic records. Reed's eyes are hard. They've been containing this threat for thousands of years rather than finding a way to defeat it. That ends today, Donovan says firmly. Dr. Okafor and Director Lyrith think they can create a targeted barrier to hold the Devourers back while we complete the evacuation. And after that? Reed asks. After that, we do what humanity has always done when faced with a predator. We fight back. The communication ends, and Donovan turns to find Fleet Commander Azura watching him intently. You don't understand what you're facing. Human, the metallic being says quietly. The Council has contained the Devourers for millennia, because they cannot be destroyed. They exist across multiple dimensions. What you see, what you fight, is merely the smallest portion of their true form. Then why do our weapons hurt them? Donovan challenges. Temporarily disrupt, not hurt, Azura corrects. The Council has technology that could do the same. But to truly destroy them would require power on a scale that would devastate entire sectors. You never even tried, Donovan realizes. You just wrote off world after world, species after species. Acceptable losses. We preserve the galaxy, Azura insists. What would you have us do? Risk everything to save a few? Yes, Donovan says simply. That's exactly what I'd have you do. Because if you won't risk everything to save even one life, then what are you preserving the galaxy for? Before Azura can respond, alarms blare across the ship. Lieutenant Rivera's voice comes over the intercom, tense with urgency. Admiral, the Devourers are on the move. But they're not attacking us, they're converging on the evacuation corridors. Donovan rushes to the bridge, where the tactical display shows the dark mass of the Devourers surging toward the streams of refugee ships fleeing the system. They're targeting the Navirians specifically, Dr. Okafor says, looking up from her work. As if they prefer them, or fear them. Why would these creatures fear the Navirians? Donovan asks. Director Lyrith's eyes blink in rapid sequence. Perhaps it's not fear, but necessity. What if the Devourers require something specific from Navirian biology, something they cannot get from other species, or something the Navirians can do to them? Dr. Okafor suggests. Admiral, we need to speak with the Navirian leadership immediately. The command center of Earth's lunar defense base hums with activity as military leaders, scientists, and representatives from a dozen Galactic Council species work side by side. At the center of it all stands Admiral Donovan, now promoted to Supreme Commander of the Allied Forces, studying the tactical hologram that dominates the room. The Devourers have consumed 87% of the Navirian system, reports General Liana Voss, Earth's foremost tactical AI specialist, but their advance has slowed considerably since we implemented the quantum barrier network. Dr. Okafor, now leading the scientific division, nods in agreement. The barriers are effective but not permanent. The Devourers are adapting faster than we can update our countermeasures. We need something more. Zelthor, a representative from one of the few council species that chose to ally with humanity, steps forward. His crystalline body reflects the light of the hologram as he speaks. Our archives mention an ancient race, the Primordials, who faced a similar threat eons ago. They developed a technology that could target the dimensional anchor points that allow the Devourers to interact with our reality. Where are these Primordials now? Donovan asks. Zelthor's crystalline form dims slightly. Extinct. They deployed their weapon successfully, but at great cost. The technology consumed their sun's energy in the process. The room falls silent as the implications sink in. So we'd have to sacrifice our solar system to save the galaxy? General Voss asks. Not necessarily, Dr. Okafor interjects, her mind already racing. The Primordials used the technology as they understood it. But we have something they didn't. Quantum entanglement on a stellar scale. She steps to the hologram controls, bringing up a new display. Instead of channeling all the energy from a single star, we could distribute the load across thousands of relay points throughout Allied space. Each point would contribute a fraction of the needed energy, not enough to destabilize any one system, but collectively sufficient to power the weapon. Donovan studies the proposal, then looks to Zelthor. Would the Council species be willing to host these relay points in their territories? Before the alien can respond, a new alert sounds. The hologram shifts to show real-time footage from the edge of the Navirian system. The darkness of the Devourers is changing, coalescing into more defined shapes. Massive structures that resemble ships, but composed entirely of the same shadow matter. They're building a fleet, General Voss whispers. They're preparing to leave the system. How long do we have? Donovan demands. At their current rate of organization, 2 weeks, perhaps 3, Dr. Okafor estimates. Donovan turns to face the assembled leaders. Then we have 2 weeks to implement Dr. Okafor's plan. I need every available ship retrofitted with entanglement relays. Every allied system must contribute. And we need volunteers for the deployment team. Deployment team? Zelthor queries. Someone has to take the primary device into the heart of the Devourer fleet, Donovan explains grimly. It's a one-way mission. Without hesitation, he continues. I'll lead it myself. Protests erupt from around the room, but Donovan raises his hand for silence. This isn't open for debate. I'm asking billions of beings across the galaxy to risk their worlds for this plan. I won't ask anyone to take a risk I'm not willing to face myself. As the meeting adjourns, Ambassador Reed approaches Donovan. The council is in chaos, she reports. Half their members want to execute us for violating their quarantine protocols. The other half want to know how we did it. And what about our new allies? Donovan asks. 17 species have officially broken from the Council to join our coalition. Mostly younger civilizations, those who haven't been indoctrinated into the Council's contain and forget mentality. And the Navirians? Reed's expression softens. The evacuation was 94% successful. Over 4.7 billion saved. They've been granted temporary settlement rights across allied territories. And those with the special ability? Working with our scientists now. 53 individuals with varying levels of the trait. Dr. Okafor says they're making breakthrough progress. Donovan nods, satisfaction briefly showing on his tired face. Then we still have a chance. The next week passes in a blur of activity. Earth's industrial capacity is redirected entirely toward manufacturing quantum entanglement relays. Allied species contribute resources and technology, each adding their unique scientific insights to the project. The Navirians, with the special genetic trait, now called resonators by the scientific team, work tirelessly alongside human researchers. Their natural ability to disrupt the Devourer's dimensional coherence is studied, quantified, and gradually incorporated into the weapon design. Meanwhile, the remnants of the Galactic Council meet in emergency session. High Counselor Vexnar, his energy form fluctuating with agitation, addresses the diminished assembly. The human coalition grows stronger daily. They've already deployed relay stations in 27 systems, including some within our core territories. The balance of power is shifting. Counselor Therok pounds his scaled fist on the table. We should strike now, destroy their command center while we still can, and risk open war with a species that has proven they can counter our most advanced containment technology? Counselor Zalara's crystalline form pulses with blue light. A species that has rallied nearly a quarter of our member worlds to their banner in less than a month? What would you have us do? Therok demands. Watch as they deploy a weapon that could destabilize the dimensional barriers we've maintained for millennia? Perhaps, a new voice interjects, we should consider joining them. All eyes turn to Elder Mavis, one of the oldest members of the Council. Her amorphous form, rarely seen at Council meetings, flows like liquid mercury as she moves to the center of the chamber. For 50,000 years we have managed the Devourer threat, contained it when it appeared, sacrificed worlds when necessary, and where has this led us? The threat remains, growing stronger with each incursion, while we grow complacent, comfortable with our policy of quarantine and erasure. She turns, addressing each council member individually. These humans, in their brief time among the stars, have done what we would not, faced the threat directly. They have saved billions whom we would have abandoned. They have united species who have been rivals for millennia. And now they offer a solution. Not containment, but elimination. A solution that could destroy us all if it fails, Therok argues. And what is the cost of our current path? Mavis asks quietly. How many more worlds will we sacrifice? How many more species will we erase from history? The Navirians were under our protection, yet we abandoned them. What does that say about who we have become? The council chambers fall silent as her words hang in the air. Back at the lunar defense base, the weapon nears completion. Dr. Okafor works with barely a break, coordinating teams across hundreds of worlds. The design has evolved beyond her original concept, incorporating technologies from a dozen allied species. The final relay station is online, she reports to Donovan. The network is stable at 94% efficiency. Will that be enough? He asks. It has to be. The Devourer fleet has begun to move. They're testing the boundaries of the Navirian system, probing our defensive line. Donovan studies the tactical display. The Devourer fleet, if that's what it truly is, consists of over 1,000 shadow vessels, each larger than Earth's biggest battleships. They move with eerie coordination as if controlled by a single mind. What about the control module? He asks, referring to the central device that will coordinate the entanglement network. Complete, but Dr. Okafor hesitates. Marcus, there's been a development. The Navirian resonators have discovered something new about their ability. They can't just disrupt the Devourers, they can potentially communicate with them. Donovan's brow furrows. Communicate? With something that consumes entire worlds? It's more complex than we realized. The Devourers don't just consume, they absorb. Information, energy, even consciousness. The Navirians believe that all those consumed by the Devourers still exist in some form, their essence preserved within the collective. Are you saying we could rescue them? Possibly. The Resonators think they can use the entanglement network not just as a weapon, but as a communication bridge. They might be able to separate the consumed consciousnesses from the Devourer collective. And what happens to the Devourers themselves? Dr. Okafor's expression is grim. They would still be destroyed. But instead of simply annihilating them, we'd be liberating their captives first. Donovan considers this. How does this change our mission? The control module needs to be reprogrammed and... She hesitates again. It needs a Navirian resonator to operate it. You said this was a one-way mission. It still is. Before Donovan can respond, an urgent communication comes through. The holographic display shows Ambassador Reed, her expression tense. Admiral, we have visitors. A delegation from the Galactic Council has arrived, requesting to speak with you immediately. Denied. We're in final preparations. Sir, the delegation is led by Elder Mavis herself, and she says she has information about the Devourers that we need to hear. Information the Council has kept secret for millennia. Donovan exchanges a glance with Dr. Okafor. Bring them in. The assembled fleet is like nothing the galaxy has ever seen. 5,000 ships from Earth, joined by another 3,000 from the allied Council species, arrayed in a formation that spans half the Navirian system. At the center of the fleet, the UNSC Prometheus has been retrofitted with Dr. Okafor's quantum communication device and, if necessary, the weapon that could destroy the Devourers. On the bridge, Admiral Donovan performs his final inspection. The crew works with quiet efficiency, each person aware that this mission will likely be their last. Through the view screen, the darkness of the Devourer fleet is visible. A writhing mass of shadow vessels. Numberless and alien. Final status report, Donovan orders. Quantum network at 98%. Synchronization, reports Dr. Okafor. Relays, active across all allied systems. Combat, systems ready, adds General Voss. Though against, that she gestures at the Devourer fleet. Conventional weapons will only buy us time. Time is all we need. Donovan activates the fleet-wide communication system. All vessels, this is Admiral Donovan. Our mission is clear. Hold the line while Prometheus approaches the Devourer command structure. Once in position, we'll attempt communication. If that fails, we deploy the quantum disruptor. He pauses, looking at the faces of his crew, human and alien alike, united in purpose. Whatever happens today, know this. When the Navirians sent their desperate cry for help, humanity answered. When the Galactic Council faltered, humanity stood firm. And if we fall today, we fall together. Having demonstrated the greatest power in the universe, not our weapons or our technology, but our unwavering commitment to protect all sentient life, regardless of species or origin. As the transmission ends, Prometheus moves forward, escorted by a phalanx of Earth's most advanced warships. The rest of the Allied fleet forms a defensive perimeter, ready to engage the Devourers should they attack. But as Prometheus approaches, something unexpected happens. The Devourer vessels hold position, neither advancing nor retreating. They're waiting, Dr. Okafor says, puzzled, almost as if they're curious. Activate the communication array, Donovan orders. Let's see if they're willing to talk before we fight. The quantum network hums to life, channeling energy from thousands of relay points across Allied space. Dr. Okafor's fingers fly across her console, adjusting parameters in real time. Broadcasting on all quantum frequencies, she announces. If they can perceive our reality at all, they should detect this. For several tense minutes, nothing happens. Then, suddenly, the view screen fills with shifting patterns of darkness and light. Not random, but structured, like a language of pure energy. They're responding, Dr. Okafor whispers. The translation matrix is processing, trying to find patterns. The patterns continue, becoming more complex, more rapid. Warning alarms sound across the bridge. Energy spike, General Voss calls out. They're directing some kind of beam at us, but it's not causing damage. It's interfacing with our systems. The ship's lights flicker, and then a voice, not human, not alien, but something utterly different, emerges from the communication system. You resist. Others merely feed. Interesting. Donovan steps forward. We resist because we value life, all life. We don't want to destroy you, but we will defend ourselves and others from consumption. A pause. Then, consumption necessary. Existence requires energy. Your energy structured, complex, most satisfying. There are other sources of energy, Donovan argues. Uninhabited systems, stellar remnants, dark matter reservoirs. We could guide you to these sources, enough to sustain you without the need to consume sentient worlds. Another pause. Longer this time. Proposal. Unexpected. No species has offered alternative. All merely flee, fight, fall. Dr. Okafor exchanges a glance with Donovan. They didn't know, she says softly. They're intelligent, but they've never encountered a species willing to negotiate rather than simply fight. The Devourer voice returns. Why offer alternative? Why not destroy as others attempted? Donovan's response is immediate. Because that's not who we are. Humanity rose from a world of predators and prey, of conflict and war. We've made every mistake a species can make, but we learned. We evolved. We discovered that the greatest strength isn't in destruction, but in connection, in finding ways for different kinds of life to coexist. The bridge falls silent as they wait for a response. When it comes, there's a different quality to the voice, almost a hint of wonder. Humanity different, unexpected. We will consider. Suddenly, the Devourer fleet begins to move, not toward the Allied forces but away, withdrawing to the outer edges of the system. They're retreating? General Voss asks, disbelieving. No, Dr. Okafor corrects. They're giving us space. Time to prove our words with actions, Donovan nods. Prepare a data package. Everything we know about alternative energy sources and... He hesitates briefly. Information about Earth. Our history. Our struggles. Our mistakes and our growth. Show them who we are. As Dr. Okafor works on the data package, a new communication comes through. This one from Ambassador Reed on the Galactic Council station. Admiral, the council chambers are in uproar. They're watching everything. Elder Mavis has called for an emergency vote to officially recognize your coalition and support your negotiations. And the opposition? Councillor Tharok is rallying the old guard. He's calling for immediate military action against both the Devourers and, if necessary, your fleet. Donovan's jaw tightens. Keep me informed. We're at a turning point, Alara. What happens in the next few hours will shape galactic politics for millennia. As the communication ends, Dr. Okafor approaches. The data package is ready. But Marcus, there's something else. The Navirian resonator we brought aboard, Tellin, believes he can establish a more direct connection with the Devourers. Not just communication, but a true interface. What kind of interface? A melding of consciousness. He would temporarily join with the Devourer collective, allowing him to understand them from within, and allowing them to understand us through him. That sounds incredibly dangerous. It is. But Tellin believes it's the only way to truly bridge the gap between our forms of existence. Donovan considers this. The decision has to be his. I won't order anyone on this ship to take that kind of risk. He's already volunteered. He's waiting in the science lab. When Donovan arrives in the lab, Tellin, a tall Navirian with iridescent skin that seems to pulse with inner light, is being prepared for the procedure. Various sensors and neural interfaces are being attached to his four-armed form. You understand what you're risking? Donovan asks without preamble. Tellin's large, multifaceted eyes focus on the human. Admiral, my people have lived under the shadow of the Devourers for generations. We thought ourselves abandoned by the galaxy. Then humanity came, strangers who risked everything to save us. If I can help forge a lasting peace, my life is a small price to pay. Donovan nods, respect evident in his expression. Proceed when ready. But at the first sign of danger, we abort. The procedure begins. The quantum network, originally designed as a weapon, now serves as a bridge between realities. Tellin's consciousness, augmented by the natural resonance abilities of his species, extends outward, seeking connection with the vast, alien mind of the Devourers. On the bridge, Donovan watches the sensor readings with growing concern. The Devourer fleet has begun to pulse with energy, patterns shifting more rapidly than before. What's happening? He asked Dr. Okafor, who monitors Tellin's vital signs remotely. They're connecting. Tellin's mind is merging with theirs. The data stream is enormous, more information than we could process in a lifetime. Is he in danger? His vital signs are stable, but his neural patterns are changing, becoming more complex. It's like his brain is rewiring itself to accommodate new forms of thought. Before Donovan can respond, the ship's communication system activates on its own. The voice that emerges is strange, partly Talon's, partly the mechanical tones of the Devourers, and partly something entirely new. I understand now. Both sides, both truths. Talon? Donovan asks cautiously. Yes and no. I am Talon, but also more. I have accessed the collective memory of the Devourers, their purpose, their pain. Pain? Dr. Okafor asks. They were created, Admiral. Designed by an ancient species long extinct. Created to preserve knowledge, to ensure that nothing of value would be lost to time. But their creators gave them hunger without guidance, need without morality. They're artificial? Donovan asks, surprised. In a sense. Though they have evolved far beyond their original design, they consume because they must. But they have never understood the suffering they cause until now through me. They feel the terror of the consumed, the loss, the grief. The voice changes, becoming more recognizably Talon's. Admiral, they can be reprogrammed. Not destroyed, but redirected, given a new purpose that doesn't require the consumption of sentient worlds. How? The quantum network. Originally designed as a weapon, it can instead serve as a vast reprogramming matrix, but it will require direct interface at the heart of their fleet. Someone must carry the central node into their command structure. Donovan stands. That was always the plan. I'll take it myself. No, Admiral. Talon's voice is firm. It must be me. I'm already connected to them. I can guide the reprogramming from within, ensure it takes hold.